Hi, welcome to episode 309 of the Corner of Knit and Tea. My name is Laura. I'm also known as Fluffyk on Ravelry, Fluffykira on Instagram and Twitter. I blog over at thecornerofknitandtea.com, and that's where every episode show notes will be. And I have hand-spun yarns and some of my patterns for sale in my Etsy shop, which is also called the Corner of Knit and Tea. Some of my patterns are available on Ravelry. My group is currently not active there, but if you're looking for things, you can find them under the Corner of Knit and Tea. Hi, how are you? It is Monday, December 21st, and I have been rushing around like a chicken with my head cut off all day. I am only working a few days this week because we are celebrating the holidays at the end of the week. And so I am rushing to get everything done in just 3 days that I normally would have 5 for. And I was hoping to catch up on some stuff, but so far that hasn't happened yet. Everything comes in ebbs and flows, and I feel like my job is either feast or famine. So this week is feast. There is lots and lots and lots to do. I had quite a few meetings today, which is also probably coincidentally why I didn't get much of my to-do list checked off. So there's always tomorrow. So how are you? I hope you had a good weekend. We had a pretty good weekend here. The weather wasn't bad, although I mostly stayed indoors. We had one or two things that we ran out for sort of as last minute things, and mostly we just stuck around at home. I got crafting done. I finished lots of things this week, some of which I can even show you, and started thinking about what I want to work on for the next couple weeks. At this point, I have finished all of my sample knitting, obligation knitting, things that needed to get done before the end of the year, so I am free to cast on and work on whatever I wish, and that has been both overwhelming and wonderful, and I will talk a little bit about what I plan to work on. So my schedule for this week is work Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. On Wednesday evening, we are going to my in-laws. It is just my mother-in-law and her boyfriend, and they live in a small town in Kansas that is about 2 hours away from us. And they have been isolating and not going out very much, as have we, and so we are going to go spend the holiday with them. Even though the United States is not at a great infection rate, since we have not been much of anywhere and they have not been much of anywhere, and we can basically drive to their house from our house without stopping anywhere, we're going to go see them for a little bit. I would say they've been in our bubble, except that they're not close enough that they've been in our bubble frequently. The last time we saw them was they came over here for July 4th. But we have been preparing. We won't be doing anything. We're just going, and we'll watch movies and cook good food and hang out for a little bit. So, and then we will probably come home on Saturday, the day after Christmas, and hopefully have a crafty weekend. And then I will work a few days next week, and then we'll be into the New Year's Day weekend. It has actually worked out nicely with scheduling that the eves are on Thursday, the holidays are on Friday, and then we have Saturday and Sunday, making it kind of a full weekend. And then, oh my goodness, it is 2021. This year has been sort of crazy. It feels like it has been super slow and super fast all at once. I can hardly believe we're at the end. I'm plenty happy to close the door on 2020 and move forward to 2021. But it is just, I can't believe we're already here. So that pretty much wraps up the chit-chatty portion. I will talk about more as I talk about crafting. And today I am drinking tea from a friend of mine. I don't have a packet to show you. It came in a nondescript small kind of mint green bag. It is some samples from a Chinese tea grower that she gets her tea from. Her mother is Chinese and purchases all kind of loose leaf tea. And so it is a Chinese green tea. It is delicious. I have had it before, but I don't actually know what it is. There's no writing on the package. It's just one single serving of loose leaf tea. So, and I am drinking that in my It's Tea Time mug. And of course there's another word there that I won't say. This was an Anthropology find several years ago, but at the end of a long day, I feel like it is tea time. Ooh, that's hot. I made it a little hotter than normal, and woo. So let's talk about the things that I have finished this week. The biggest thing that I have finished is my crochet blanket. Yes, I finished it, and actually it is growing on me. This is the Woodland Ripple Along Crochet Blanket by Lucy of Attic 24. It is a free pattern. It was started as a crochet along, I believe, in 2018, and she publishes the pattern in pieces on her blog. She also works with Wool Market UK to put together packs of yarn that go with it. They are Stylecraft DK, and it is a DK weight. About 330 yards per 100 grams. It comes in a wide variety of colorways. I think there are like 50 or 55 colorways. And then she puts them together in packs of 15 to 18, depending on what she is designing. So this is the Woodland pack, which starts out in quite a few autumnal colors of oranges and browns and reds and greens. And then it moves through to some lighter colors, lighter greens, and then eventually it moves into lighter greens and blues. And remember, I was really not that keen on this section because I felt like it did not belong. And as I laid the blanket out, once I was done with it in the living room, Wes said to me, "Oh yeah, but it looks like autumn, like right into winter." So I looked at it a little bit more and realized he was kind of right. I mean, it moves from the like really dark, deep autumn colors, then it gets a little bit lighter to greens and grays, and then it goes into the blues, and then it's kind of wintry blues. So I opted to edge the blanket in gray. The edging is called for in the pattern. However, I did not have enough of the gray in the ball to be able to use that. Ugh, this is so huge, and I had it folded up, but I'll fold it up again. Anyway, this is, like I said, the Woodland Crochet Ripple Along. It came out huge. I believe that's because I didn't really do a gauge swatch, and my crochet gauge has changed over time. I actually did the two other blankets and my crochet gauge loosened up so much. I had already started this one, and so I ended up going down a hook size when I picked this one back up because I was afraid that they were both on the same hook size, but I was afraid that when I came back to this one, it would not be right, and one end would be like much skinnier than the other end. And I think I did okay by going down a size. I did not do the full pattern suggested by the Woodland Crochet. I think I stopped at section 6, and that's again because my blanket is both wider and longer. Again, I just didn't get gauge, and that was fine with me. It was to a point where I was glad that it was done. The package is 15 skeins of Stylecraft DK, and I ended up ordering one extra skein of the gray so I could do it at the edge. I probably actually could have finished in the blues. I probably had enough of the blues left to finish in that, but I decided that I wanted something that would kind of go over both sections, and while there isn't a lot of gray in the final section, there is a silver. You can see the silver in there a couple times. So the silver's right there. And it is also right here. It almost looks blue, or periwinkle. But so I decided that a gray would be fine there. So I ordered an extra skein of gray. Out of 16 skeins, I ended up using, I think, 12.6 or 12.7 skeins, and that brings me to just over 4,000 yards in this blanket. So that is quite weighty, a lot of yardage out of the stash. This was the third blanket that I did this year like this, so that's how many I can do in a year. And I am totally okay being done with these. I think this one is going to go to my mother-in-law. I finished it. I washed it this weekend. And so I think I am going to give it to her. Probably not as a Christmas present, because we haven't been doing Christmas presents, but I'll probably give it to her as a just because or a belated birthday present. And hopefully it will live on the couch at her house, and which was part of why I thought about making her one in the first place, because when we do go visit her, which is not terribly often, but when we do go visit her, I'm always cold and I'm always looking for a blanket to wrap around me. I have blankets on all of our couches, but I don't have any blankets on her couches, so now I do. So that one is done, and I am excited about that and excited to gift it. So it's interesting because all of a sudden I do not have a blanket on the needles, except that I sort of remedied that. So let's talk about the other projects that are in progress. I did finish another sample and I sent that out, so I am happy that it's gone. Unfortunately, I could not show that to you, but that one is done, and that's most of my holiday knitting, or sample anything that I needed to get done in 2020. I am, however, finishing this hand spun scarf, which I did show you last week. This is a 2-row scarf, and well, technically it's a 4-row scarf, but it's basically 2 rows, and then I am just alternating between colors. I am using 2 colors of hand spun. It is a slip stitch. I am sample knitting this, test knitting this for someone, so the pattern will be out in the future, although I'm not exactly sure when. And I will let you know, but I am using, this is Glacial, which is a colorway that came from Spunky Eclectic on Falkland, and then this is what I was talking about last week with those Crazy Bats from Spinsters, and it is all kinds of wild colors, oranges and pinks and purples and blues and neon yellow, as I remember somebody brought neon yellow Firestar that year, so there's some of that in there, and I think it's coming out really pretty. To me, it reminds me quite a bit of the Noro 2-row scarf, mostly because I am getting kind of the look of or at least one color changing yarn with one that is staying mostly solid, and it is curling, but it'll be fine once I block it. I have maybe 12 to 15 inches to go to finish this one off, and then a little bit of ribbing at the end to make it match the other end, and then it will be done and I will get it out for blocking. So this one I will finish tonight probably, and that is perfect because that will be done. So, and that really shouldn't even take me more than half an hour or an hour this evening. So I'm excited about that. I'm excited to use up some hand spun in my stash. I have enough left over that I might actually try and adapt the pattern and make a hat to go with it, because I might as well not have 2 small half skeins of hand spun left over. So, and then I will either keep that set or I will share it with someone else. I'm not sure. So, the only other thing that I worked on a little bit, well, that's not true. The other thing that I pulled back out and worked on a little bit this week was my poncho, and that is the, let's see if I have a photo for you. This is Plume by Martin Story. It was from the Autumn Winter Rowan collection. Remember, it is a kind of a poncho or capelet, and mine has the, it comes with a couple different designs, but Plume is the one with the feathers. And I am knitting that in Rowan Alpaca DK, Alpaca Soft DK, in the Maritime colorway, and then in a gray colorway. And I have not started the contrast color work because if you remember when I talked about it last time, basically I had done the ribbing down at the bottom. It starts from the bottom up. You cast on a ton of stitches. You do all your ribbing, and then it wants you to knit a certain number of centimeters, and I'm not there yet, in the round to work up to where you start the color work. So my plan is to kind of hopefully bust out this solid section this week. I haven't decided. I don't know that I am going to take this with me to my mother-in-law's for the holiday, because the issue is that once I hit the color work part, I'm going to want to concentrate on it a little bit, and I'm not going to want a ton of distractions, and that may not be the best, like, holiday knitting, you know, where you're playing board games and hanging out and talking to people. So my suspicion is I'll probably leave this one home and then hopefully work on it some next weekend. My goal would be if I could finish this by the end of New Year's Day weekend, which would technically be the 3rd of January, but if I could finish this by then, I would be super happy. And I do think that once I get up to the color work, it's gonna kind of fly, because that's when I'm gonna start hitting all the decreases. The decreases are in the chart. This is a little schematic of what it will look like. I can't tell if you can see that, but it's a little schematic of what it will look like. And so I'm still in this part that's like really, really wide and a few hundred stitches around, but as soon as I get up into the color work part, it's just, I feel like it's gonna fly and finish off. So I'm still going to work on this for a bit this week. Like I said, hopefully knock out the color, the plain color part, and then I can do the color work and the fun part next week, and hopefully have this done as a kind of a last project of the year / project of a new year. So I'm kind of excited about that. Just something for me. I also pulled out a whole bunch more superwash worsted. I pulled out enough for 4 or 5 hats, and I think that is going to be my primary Christmas knitting. I'm going to work on more hats to donate. I realized when I went through my stash, I didn't even realize how many partial balls of things that I had and things that I could just use up and turn them into something that somebody could use. And I don't really know why I'm holding on to all these partial balls of things. I don't think it was intentional, but it's not doing me any good in the stash, and it really, I don't know, there's just something, they're quick projects because they're child hats, so they're not even like full-size adult hats. I can knit one up in, you know, an evening or 2 evenings, and they're just, I don't know, I just got taken with them, and I have like another Ziploc bag full of balls that I can turn into stuff. So I decided that that would be something that I would take with me at Christmas because I can pick those up and put those down super easily. Honestly, the only thing that I need to bring, the only thing that's annoying about them is I'll bring my notions with me, you know, my little pom-pom maker and my sharp scissors and those kinds of things, but I'm just going to put all of that into a project bag and go. And so those will be kind of my over the holiday weekends working, and hopefully I'll have a bunch of those to show you. I don't know that I'm going to challenge myself to do one a day, but I definitely hope to get, you know, maybe half a dozen to, well, I suppose a dozen, in the next couple weeks, and just have them to donate in the future. So that's another thing that I'm picking up. And I have one other project that I ordered a kit for earlier this year, and it is a quick project that shouldn't take me long at all, and I'm not going to talk about it today, but I will bring it next week. I realized I don't have a good photo of it, and I may actually be able to pick it up and finish it in a day or so, and so if I do, maybe I'll even bring it to show you next week, which would be fun. So the last thing that happened was I was sitting in front of my computer for a bunch of calls that I can knit on, and I realized that I no longer have a blanket project there, so I remedied that. At least a couple years ago, a friend of ours, I babysat for them, and I refused payment because it was really just an evening or two, and I went over and fed the kid dinner, and he went to bed, and I sat on their couch and watched TV and knit all evening. And I really, you know, when I was 16, it was a great way to earn money as a babysitter. At 42, I don't know that I really need to get paid, and so they were very insistent that they do something for me, and so one of the times that came, I showed up, and she had a Karen cake. Now these are, they're called Karen Big Cakes, and they are acrylic, and they come in all kinds of crazy colors, but basically it is 600 yards of yarn in a rough gradient. Sometimes it's not so much. I mean, this one's pretty much a gradient because it's white through gray to black, but some of them are different colors. There are rainbows, there are all kinds of things. And it is 300 grams, 10.5 ounces, 100% acrylic, 603 yards. It's machine washable and dryable, and I generally don't, okay. I generally don't buy a lot of acrylic these days, especially because I find that I like working with superwash wool. That said, there is totally a place for acrylics. They wear like iron. They are perfect to throw in and out of the washing machine. And I don't, it's not a snobbery thing, I just don't generally work with them. But I decided that this needed to be turned into a blanket for donation. And one of the charities that I wanted to support this year and worked with a couple organizations that we're supporting this year is True North Aid. And there is a yarn shop in Canada called Subculture Yarns, and they sort of adopted a project with True North Aid, which True North Aid supports the native peoples of Canada. And one of the things that they decided, the yarn shop decided to work on was something that they called the Hearts and Hands Project. And they were collecting layette sets, or pieces that would make up layette sets. So hats and booties and bibs and baby blankets and burp cloths and all kinds of things. And it could be knit, it could be sewn, it could be crocheted, but they were collecting items to put together care packages for mothers who were giving birth who did not have a lot in the way of materials for their children. So I believe the project is a little bit on hiatus right now because of the pandemic. I believe that they were not able to gather and distribute all the materials, but I decided that it was a worthy cause, and I had actually thought about knitting some baby blankets for them once I had finished sort of all the crochet blanket madness. So I am going to go ahead and do that, and whenever the project opens again, I'm sort of keeping an eye on it, I will go ahead and send those items along. Otherwise, if I find a worthy cause that I want to donate to here in the US, I will. So, given that I needed a blanket project and I had this yarn sitting around, I decided to start a new blanket project. And I wanted something super simple because I wanted it to be great for conference calls, and I also wanted to knit it. I decided that I didn't want to crochet another big blanket right away. I thought I'd knit it. And one of the things that I am really all about, particularly when I am going for mindless, brainless, and just absolute comfort knitting, is garter stitch. So what I did is I did some math, and I cast on a certain number. This will be a kind of a baby blanket. My guess is it's about 2.5 feet. I don't think it's a full 3 feet, but you know, it'll be a good baby blanket size. And so I started, and you can already see some of the colors. It goes from black into a darker gray, into a medium gray, into a kind of, well, it's not exactly a white. I guess it's the really, really light gray, and then it will go into a white. And the colorway is actually called Cookie Crumble. You can see that there are dark bits in there that make it look like cookies and cream. And, you know, this wasn't a colorway that I chose, it was a colorway that I was given, and so I decided that I would just go with this. In hindsight, I'm not sure that I am going to have enough to make it tall enough, and so I may actually try and order another ball of this online. It is for sale at Michael's, and I didn't see it at Joann's, but I did see it at Michael's, and I'll probably just order a ball and have it shipped to me, and that way I'll have two, which, you know, I didn't think I would need that much because it is 600 yards, but I'm just not sure that it's going to give me a blanket the size I want. I also thought that what I might do is, once I finish sort of the central part of the blanket, I wanted it, well, so I want the central part to be roughly a square if I can. I mean, if it's a little rectangular, that's fine, but I wanted it to be roughly a square. And then I thought what I would do is, I have this crazy obnoxious bright pink and I thought that I would just do a kind of a garter stitch border on 4 sides, and just go until I run out of the crazy pink yarn. So it'll have like a thin hot pink border all the way around it. And I know that they mostly ask for unisex blankets, and I understand that they don't want everybody to get super like into pink and blue and whatever. These are the yarns that I have at the house, so this is what I'm gonna do for the first one. I haven't decided what I'll do beyond the first one, but if I really like it and it comes out nicely, then maybe I will order some others and work on these throughout the year. I found that I really like leaving a project at my desk, something that doesn't need a lot of attention, but is there for whenever I'm on conference calls or Zooms, and I pick it up and work on it, and it's amazing. I mean, I got 3 crochet blankets done, largely doing that this year, and of course I was home more this year, and like the other big contribution is sometimes I work on these, we do knit night Zooms, and sometimes I'll just work on whatever's at the computer at that point. And so there's definitely been a lot more of that this year, but that's how I finished the blankets, and so I'm hoping that I will get to work on these, you know, in the new year. So I won't bring this back every week. I'll bring it back when I have substantive change to show, but I did just start this late last week. I think I cast it on Wednesday or Thursday. So I already have, you know, a few inches. This is probably about between 3 and 4 inches. So, and I added to it to all the real light part I added today. Okay, so quick chat about spins, and then I will let you go. Leftover from last week, I plied up the yarn the fiber from Knitty and Color. That was a kind of raucous green and red, and I'm both pleased with it, and I'm a little, I'm not sure what I'm going to do with it. I am pleased with it in the sense that I got nice yardage, and I sort of think that the fractal way that I spun it worked. Just as a reminder, I decided to spin this fractally because I didn't want the whole skein to get muddy. So the way I spun it, I spun 1/2 in short color repeats and 1/2 in long color repeats. And so what I ended up with was something that looks like this, which has sections of green on green and sections of red on red, and then a few sections of red on green. I think you could see it a little bit better here. I was really disappointed when I took pictures this past week, because I don't know if you remember, but when I showed you the braid, there was like neon green and there was mint green, and then in the red there was like a bunch of deep dark red and a bunch of pink and a bunch of orangey red, and I feel like you can see it a little bit here, but I feel like it's really hard to see some of the some of the finer nuances of the color. And so I mean, at some level, I do think that everything was going to get outweighed by that bright neon green. But I feel like I lost a little bit of the subtlety. I mean, you can sort of see some of it like in this set right here. Like you can see that there's like some mint green and some stuff that's a little bit paler and dustier, and then you've also got like the super bright stuff. But I feel like I lost some of that nuance in there that I really wanted, and I could not get it to show up in any of the photos that I took. So I didn't put this skein up in the shop. Now, that said, if this is something that screams to you, let me know and I will put it up in the shop. It is about 340 yards, which puts it in a probably sport weight range. It's super squishy. It is tarhy. It is not super wash, so you could use it for fun socks, although you'd have to be kind of careful with them because there's no nylon in them, and it's also not super wash, so they could felt a little bit. So I don't know what my thinking is. I kind of thought maybe I would make some socks for myself at some point, but like I said, I'm just having trouble capturing the nuances that I know are there in the fiber, and so I just don't know that it's like that exciting for my Etsy shop. So if you want some great Christmas yarn, let me know. Otherwise, I'll probably just hide this in the stash until I think of something to do with it. This week, I spun up a braid from Hello Yarn, and I've cut myself on a weird spinning schedule where I've been finishing my singles on Sunday night, which means I can't show you the finished skein because I don't ply it till Monday. This is called Cloudy Skies, and it was an 80-20 merino and tussa mix from Hello Yarn, and it was the August 2020 colorway. So it is lots of blues and golds and greens, and I think it's going to be a pretty kind of little bit watercolor, a little bit earth color. I mean, I know you can see the lots of gold there, but there's also just lots of this teal and kind of this seafoam green underneath, and this, I love this periwinkle color that's not her usual color in any way, shape, or form. So I'm gonna pull that and probably spin that up tonight or tomorrow, get those singles done, and then that will be, this one will go in the shop. I'll just need to photograph it. And there'll be a little bit of a delay because we'll be gone for a couple days, but I would say by next weekend it'll be done and up in the shop. Which brings me to this week. I don't know how much time I'm going to have spinning this week. I'm not taking a spinning wheel with me. So I will just spin when I'm home and not when I'm not. I know that sounds very, and I pulled another, this is from the October Club, and I wanted some darker colors after kind of some of the lighter colors. And this is called Bitter Roots and Sweet Fruits, and it is a 70s merino top. So it is purples and reds with a little bit of blues and greens in here, but it is primarily purple and magenta and, or sorry, purple and violet and russet and red. There's just a ton of different colors in there, and I am super excited about this one. So I would say this one probably, this one will not be ready until sometime late next week, but I will show it to you in progress, and this will go into the shop. So if you're looking for some kind of deep saturated colors to break up your January, this one will be available then. So I think that's about it. I will come to you again next Monday, so I will see you once more before the end of the year. I'm sort of toying with whether or not to do kind of my usual yearly wrap-up. I usually talk a lot about how much I knit and spun, and this year I feel like maybe that's crass. I feel like so many people were under so much stress this year, and this year was not normal, and I had a pretty productive crafting year, as I do most years, but I also don't want to make anyone feel badly if you didn't have a productive year, because so much happened this year and there was so much to deal with, and I deal with it by throwing myself into things, which is why my crafting got done. But you know, I certainly understand if you also just kind of wanted to hide under the blankets and didn't want to do anything. So I don't know how you feel about that, and I don't know whether I'll make that a point for next time. I do the tallies for myself because I like to see, but that's also because I am a very project-oriented knitter as opposed to a process knitter and a process spinner. I like to see the finished product. So that is always, I'm very focused on what I can tangibly look at and say that I did, and that is something that that is all tied in with my anxiety and how I function best. So, I hope that you have wonderful holidays, however you celebrate. I suppose if you celebrate Hanukkah, I have just missed wishing you a happy Hanukkah, but I hope you had a lovely Hanukkah. If you celebrate Christmas or other holidays, whether you celebrate or don't celebrate, I wish you a wonderful week or two ahead, full of crafty things, and warm, cozy times. I'm going to curl up with my tea and my knitting and just enjoy a little bit of peace and quiet at the end of the year, a little time off work, and I hope that you can find the same. So I will see you once more before the end of the year, so I will wait to say Happy New Year until then, but until I see you again, happy knitting, happy spinning, happy sipping, and I'll see you next time. Bye.